My first question for you is we're going to talk about your home. So, do you live in a house or an apartment?
Now I live in the apartment in my university. And I live in my dormitory in Fuzhou, city. Yeah.
Okay. And what do you like about your dormitory?
Well, I fancy my dormitory very much. I live with my three classmates together, and I have the cozy bed and the electric fans. I feel very comfortable whether in the hot summer or the freezing winter.
Okay, excellent. And what's your neighborhood like?
Well, my neighborhood is my classmates. They are friendly. I come from Beijing and it's far from my university. They often give me some local food and teach me where have the interesting place and the other things. I will like play with them.
Okay, excellent. Next, I want to talk a little bit about films. What type of films do you like?
To be honest, I like the science film. I like watching the Harry Potter very much. I have seen it. I have seen it for several times.
Very good. Would you rather go to the cinema or watch a movie at home?
Personally speaking, I usually watch film at home. It's very convenient for me. I can see it whenever I have time. But when there are some fantastic film up down in the cinema, I will watch the film with my bestie. Some film can't see in my iPad. I must to go to the cinema to see it.
Okay, super. And just one more question on movies. Who is your favourite actor or actress?
Well, in China, I have many favorite actors, such as Chen Long. Chen Long is a very famous actor in China. The actors numerous action movies and series in China is very cool. My father is very like him too.
Wow. Thank you so much. That was brilliant. Next, for part 2 of your exam, I show you a question and you get 1 minute to prepare your answer. So grab a pen and paper, and this is going to be your question. Okay, so I think you can see this. Describe a restaurant you enjoy going to. Where is it?
Yeah.
What food? What's it look like? Why do you like it? And your 1 minute preparation starts now. Okay, Nikki, your time is up, I'm afraid. So, in your own time, tell me about a restaurant you enjoy.
Okay, today I want to talk about the restaurant. It's a Chinese traditional restaurant near my home. I often go to the restaurant with my parents. It's about 10 minutes walk. As for what kind of food they serve, I want to say it's the really traditional Chinese food, such as the kung pao chicken, and the mapo tofu, and so on. They are always my favorite food. As for what it looks like, it's very spacious and modern, and its wall is red and blue. Red is a very happy color. When I went to the restaurant, I will feel pretty happy and want to test the more food in there. And they have a lot of plants in there. Some beautiful flowers. As for why I like it, I want to say that I'm a foodie, and I like to test some delicious food. And the food in the restaurant is pretty delicious for me. And the workers in the restaurant is friendly. When I have my birthday party this year in the May, and my father took me to this restaurant. They prepared a special room for me, and the adorable this room with the blooms and some flowers, and they give me a gift. And nearly all the workers sing a birthday song to me. It's very mood for me. So I very liked it. That's what I want to see.
Super. Okay. Well, that was I don't know if you can see. This is really close to 2 minutes. So very, very, very good. Well done.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
So next in part 3, I'm gonna ask you some more questions about restaurants. Alrighty. So why do people go to restaurants to celebrate?
Oh, well, nowadays the people don't have much time to prepare the dinner for themselves, and they are busy in studying, working, or the other things. So they want to go to the restaurant to have lunch, and they still much time. And one more addition is that the food in the restaurant is delicious. Some people don't know how to cook, and they will go to the restaurant to test. And in addition, some people will go to the restaurant in some special days, such as the birthday and some celebrity and some other special days. They will prepare a delicious meal in some pretty restaurant.
Super. Righty, lovely. In China, are fast food or traditional restaurants more popular?
Well, as for this question, I think the fast food is more popular nowadays. Increasingly, the people like to have the fast food. Some people don't like to waste the much time to cook the traditional food. Especially the traditional Chinese food, it will cook for nearly 2 or 3 hours for a meal. It's very long. And as for some children, they like to eat some hamburgers and the other fast food. They will think it's very delicious, because when they are young, they have the traditional food all the time. So the fast food is delicious for them. And for some people working or starting to be busy, they also want to have the fast food. It's very convenient for them.
Convenient, right. Do you think food is always better in an expensive restaurant?
Well, I think it depends. Many restaurants have delivered the pretty food, and but there are some restaurants can't deliver the pretty food. Some restaurants want to earn the much money, and they will save some money in some on their raw materials, and they can't adorable the restaurant too many beautiful. And now in China, the restaurant is more and more building. Many people want to build a restaurant, and some restaurants don't have many delicious food. Nowadays, on the news in China, there are many fast food in deliver food and have created some questions, and it's very serious nowadays.
Okay, super. And my last question for you, Mickey, is it important for a country to grow all of its own food?
I'm sorry, I can't understand what's the rule.
Is it important for a country to grow its own food?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's very important. No, I think the food is a kind of culture for a country. They can build their food to give the other people to traditional their culture. In China, there is a kind of traditional food. It's like the kung chicken. Maybe several years ago, several thousand years ago, they have this food, and it represents a kind of traditional culture in China, and their own food can make the people like their country more, and whenever and wherever they are, they also can memory their own country. Yeah, I think it's very significant.
Brilliant. Okay, so Mickey, that's the end of your test today.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you.
And relax. Cool. So what did you think about your test? Do you think it was very good, very bad, average? What did you think?
I think it's just so.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, please, you first.
You first.
What things do you think were very easy for you in this test? What were you good at in this test?
Oh, well, I think the part one have some simple questions for me. I have compared it. But in part three, I can't get clearly on some questions, so maybe my answer is not clearly.
Okay, super. Well, if you don't understand the question, you did exactly the right thing. Ask them to repeat the question, and if you don't understand one word, ask them to explain that word. It's a speaking test, not a listening test. So ask if you don't understand the questions.
Okay.
Number two is if you don't know the answer to the question, that's fine. Just talk about not knowing it and keep talking. It's not a test of your knowledge. It's a test of your speaking. So just keep talking. Ready?
Yeah.
Cool. And so what things do you think were most difficult for you in this exam? What problems did you have?
Well, I think some question in part three is difficult for me. I can't know the answer such as your own food. To be honest, this question I can't know how to speak it.
Okay. Okay, super. Well, yeah, again, it's not about your answer, it's all about your speaking. So if you talk about something about food that you do know, that will be okay. So don't worry too much. Alrighty. Okay. Fantastic. And so when are you taking your Ielts test?
Oh, well, I want to have my test in the next year, January, the first month.
Oh, okay. So you've got so you've got 4 weeks, 8 weeks, something like that. Okay. Yeah. Super. Have you taken the Ielts test before?
Before I have one exam and I got the 5.5.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not very good.
Okay. And what score do you need for your next exam? What score do you want?
I want to get the 7 in the all score.
Wow, 7 overall. Okay. And
Yeah.
what score do you need for your speaking? 7 as well?
Speaking, I want to get the 6.5.
6.5. Okay.
Yeah.
Super. Yep. And do you know what 4 things you get scored on for your speaking test?
Yeah, I know there are 4 things.
Right, super. So I think if you want to get a score of 6.5, you've got to be aiming towards doing all the things you need for band 7. Let me, perhaps I can share this with you. Blah, 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 blah. Where is it? Here we go. Awesome. So this is band 7, and perhaps a little too small for you to see, right? My apologies. So the first one is about how much and how easily you speak. And I think for this, you were really, really close to band 7. You use loads of really good phrases to connect your ideas and introduce your ideas. I think, in my opinion, personally speaking, to be honest, these are lots of really good and lots of different ways to introduce your ideas. That's brilliant. Next up, you've got you can speak for a long time, but it's okay if you stop and think, and it's okay for you to correct yourselves. And I think you did pause and correct yourselves a few times, so this was fine. And then the third part on this is you can speak for a long time without it seeming very difficult. And so in part 2, you spoke for almost 2 minutes and you answered all of the questions, and this was a very natural conversation. So I think you're really close to band 7 for the first part, which is fluency and coherence.
Yeah.
The second part, lexical resource, this is all about the vocabulary you use. So for this, I thought your vocabulary was quite good. You certainly had enough words to talk about all the things you wanted. Sometimes you used a word and it wasn't quite right, which is somewhere in band 6. And now there's 2 things I want us to focus on. The first, for band 7, you must paraphrase effectively. Do you know the meaning for this word, paraphrase?
Yeah, it's like an exam, explain.
Okay, yeah. So paraphrase means you have one idea, but you have lots of different ways to talk about it. So, for example, in part 2, where you're talking about food, I want to hear you use lots of different words for food. So maybe when you are preparing your answer, perhaps you can write down some different words for the main topic. So you could have food or cuisine or meals or dinner. So lots of different words. But if you just use the word food, you're only going to get 6. So especially in band 2, in part 2, whatever the main topic is, try to write down 3 or 4 different words for this and try to use them.
Yeah.
The next part is for band 7, you've got to use some idioms. Do you know the meaning for this word, idiom?
Yeah, I know.
Okay. What English idioms do you know? Which ones are easy for you?
Such as raining dogs and cats.
Raining cats and dogs. Yeah, exactly. So when you went to this restaurant with your family, it was raining cats and dogs. Like, whatever you were doing, Tell us it was raining cats and dogs. Another easy one you could do is it cost an arm and a leg.
Oh,
So
yeah.
this is very, very expensive. The meal cost an arm and a leg. And another really easy one to use is we arrived safe and sound. This just means that the journey was okay. We arrived at the restaurant safe and sound. So try to use at least one idiom, especially in part 2, and you will get this band 7 for your lexical resource. So paraphrase, use an idiom.
Okay.
Cool. Next up, we got grammar. And so yeah, I thought your grammar was really good. You use some different tenses. I did notice in part 2, you started off talking about the past, but then some of the verbs you missed the ed. So one good tip is when you are writing your notes for task 2, write down what tense it is. So for example, if you write the word past in your notes and you keep looking at this, it helps you to remember to keep using the past tense. So that's one thing. But I thought your grammar was generally really accurate. So that's this part. Error-free sentences, some mistakes, so this is fine. But also for band 7, you must use some complex structures. And this was something I didn't hear in your answers. So what I'd really like you to do is try to use an if clause in your answer. So if I went to this restaurant again, I would eat a different meal. Try to use one if clause. Another good complex grammar you can use is perhaps you can use the passive voice. Are you happy with this? So the food was brought to me by the staff, and it shows you know how to do this. If you don't use this grammar, no one in your test knows that you can use it. So try to use the most difficult grammar you can. An if clause is a really good place to start. And then finally, this is let's see, pronunciation. And so, I don't know. I think for pronunciation, it's a habit that you have practiced every day for a long time. I don't think you can change your pronunciation in 4 weeks or 5 weeks. But especially W and V sounds kind of get confused, and TH sounds like this and that are often reduced. This is very, very normal for Chinese people. So I don't want you to focus too much on your pronunciation, but I think you can make small changes in the vocabulary and grammar to show the most difficult stuff you know, and then you should be getting a band 7. Alrighty, cool. Okay. Well, any questions for me about today's test?
Well, I want to know my pronunciation can got what score?
Well, that's a very good question. I think for this, your pronunciation would probably be a band 6. And I think that would be the lowest score out of all of your bands. I think for this test, you would probably be getting somewhere between 6 and 6.5. Probably 6.5, I think. But I will calculate your score and send you some more feedback later. And so I think if you can make a few small changes, you can definitely get a 6.5 in your exam in January.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Anything else you'd like to know today?
Well, I want to know in the part 3.
Yes.
You know, some question I don't know what's the meaning exactly, but
Yes.
I know the keyword. I know the keyword, so I can guess what question you ask for me. In this case, should I answer exactly or ask you what's your meaning?
Right. Yeah, I think if you don't understand, ask. I mean, the better you understand the question, the easier it is to answer. But you don't get any points for the content of your answer. You only get marks for the quality of your English. So if you answer a question kind of about food and restaurants, your examiner probably won't notice because they're listening for the English you use, not your answer to the question. So don't worry too much if you haven't understood it, but it's okay to ask for clarification.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I don't have any question.
Brilliant. Well, Mickey, it was so nice talking to you today. You did really well in this exam. I think a few small changes can get you to the level that you want. So I will type up your notes and I'll send them to you shortly.
Okay, thank you.
Alrighty. Well, thanks so much. Have a nice day.
Okay, so here is another full test, a supposed 6.5. Let's have a listen.
My first question for you is, we're going to talk about your home. So, do you live in a house or an apartment?
Now I live in the apartment in my university. I live in my dormitory in Fuzhou, city. Yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure why it's the apartment. Why not I live in an apartment? But then she goes on to say dormitory. So is she not sure what the word apartment means? And also we have a problem with articles. Let's move on.
Okay. And what do you like about your dormitory?
Well, I fancy my dormitory very much. I live with my three classmates together, and
I live with my 3 classmates together. Nope. Because live with means together. You can't live with someone together. You can just live with them. So I live with my classmates.
mates together, and I have the cozy bed.
Again, she's having problems with articles. She says the when she should say a.
And the electric fans.
I don't know why the electric fans.
I feel very comfortable whether in the hot summer or the freezing winter.
Freezing. I feel very comfortable whether. If you're going to say weather, then there's got to be a verb in this clause. So whether it is hot summer or freezing winter, even just a be verb.
Sure.
Okay, excellent.
Whoa, why is he saying excellent? They're not supposed to comment on your answers. This is definitely never going to happen in a real test.
And what's your neighborhood like?
Well, my neighborhood is my classmates. They are friendly.
You notice the guy laughing at her? I think she's confusing neighborhood and neighbors. Neighbors are the people, neighborhood is the place. You can't say my neighborhood is my classmates. You can say my classmates are my neighbors.
I come from Beijing, and it's far from my university. They often give me some local food and teach me where have the interesting place and the others.
Okay, so we also see, of course, some pronunciation problems. I guess this is the most severe one, where instead of place, she said please. They teach me, I think they show me all the interesting places around town.
I very like play with them.
Oh my goodness, I very like verb. Now, I mean, this is a very basic grammatical error. A very like to. I think I mentioned this before in another video. In English, we don't use play the same way you do in Chinese. You can't say I like to play with them, I like to hang out with them, or I like to spend time with them, but not play, no.
Okay, excellent.
And again, the guy says excellent when it's not excellent at all.
Next,
And anyway, what is excellent in the test? Some people might only need a 5, other people might need a 6. What is excellent exactly?
I'm going to talk a little bit about films. What type of films do you like?
To be honest, I like the science film.
I don't know why, to be honest. Science film? Is it sci-fi?
I like watching the Harry Potter very much.
There's no the, this is a name. Harry Potter is science? Okay, I thought it was fantasy. Okay, so I think she's confusing science and fantasy.
Potter very much. I have seen it.
Oh, now I know what she was saying. I have saw. Where is that? It's saw. There we go. First time I listened to this, I couldn't make out what she was trying to say.
Harry Potter very much. I have seen it. I have seen it for several times.
Okay, if you're gonna say several times, we don't need the 4. So I've seen it several times.
Very good.
Again with the commentary. Why put commentary there?
Would you rather go to the cinema or watch a movie at home?
Okay, so here, whatever choice you make, I suppose in your answer you would want to back it up with reasons. So you would want to talk, let's say you choose watching a movie at home, talk about why this is so great, and then maybe talk about the drawbacks of going to the cinema. That's what I would imagine your answer would look like.
Personally speaking, I usually watch film at home.
No, not personally speaking. You don't use personally speaking about things you do. You use personally speaking when you give your opinion on things. And it should be films.
It's very convenient for me.
Convenient. Alright, convenient for me. Okay, so here she's talking about the pluses.
I can see it whenever I have time.
See it. Not sure about the it.
But when there are some fantastic film.
Are film. Nope. Those two don't agree.
Up down in the cinema, I will watch the film with my bestie.
Okay, now I guess she's gonna give us the reason why. Sometimes it's better to go to the cinema.
Some film constantly in my iPad. I must.
Oh no, I don't understand the reason. What? Some films?
Watch the film with my bestie. Some film constantly in my iPad. I
don't know what this word is, but if we look at the grammar here, actually maybe this is more coherence than grammar, I think. Some films can't see in my something something. I think what she's trying to say is there are some films you can't see, and then whatever this is, I don't know what this is. Apartment?
in my iPad. I must to go to the cinema to see it.
Must to go. No, must never goes with to. I must go to the cinema to see it. So, a lot of simple sentences, lots of errors in the simple sentences also.
Okay, super.
Again with the comments.
And just one more question
Also, they don't tell you how many questions there are.
on movies. Who is your favourite actor or actress?
Well, in China, I have many favorite actors. such as Chenglong. You know, Chenglong is a very famous actor in China. They actors numerous action movies and series in China.
Okay, whoa, what's happening here? Actors, numerous action movies. I think she's confusing the noun and the verb because she's saying actors here instead of saying like he acts in.
Actors numerous
He acts in numerous movies.
action movies and series in China.
This word is series, not serious.
It's very cool. My father is very like him too.
And even in a basic sentence like this, she says is very like him too.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Really? Okay.
Thank you so much. That was brilliant.
I mean, okay, so this guy works for some school and they test, or they offer the students who enroll in the school some kind of mock test. He's doing the mock test with her, but he's really not being very honest. They're only after the students' money, so they tell them that they are doing really well. Because, I mean, hey, you're a student at our school, so why would you not be doing well? But is it brilliant?
Next, for part 2 of your exam, I show you a question and you get 1 minute to prepare your answer. So grab a pen and paper, and this is going to be your question. Okay, so I think you can see this. Describe a restaurant you enjoy going to.
Now that I think about it, in part 1 was the only topic movies. Yeah, they just talked about your home and movies. I guess there's a frame missing. They only do 2 frames. I know a lot of schools do that. I'm not sure why in part 1 they only ask you on 2 topics. Interesting.
Where is it? What food? What's it look like? Why do you like it?
Ooh, let's fix that. Make this a capital W. Why do you like it?
It look like? Why do you like it? And your 1 minute preparation starts now.
Okay, well, the preparation time is cut out. So here we go.
Okay, Mickey, your time is up, I'm afraid. So,
In your own time. This is not really the wording they use, but hey, it's close enough.
in your own time, tell me about a restaurant you enjoy.
Okay, today I want to talk about the restaurant. It's a Chinese traditional restaurant.
Again, let's look at the grammar. Today I want to talk about the restaurant is a Chinese traditional restaurant. So I think she's trying to make a relative clause here. I want to talk about a restaurant which is a Chinese traditional restaurant, but the which is omitted.
Near my home. I often go to
Good grief, let's fix that as well. There we go.
I often go to the restaurant with my parents. It's about 10 minutes walk.
I think she means walk. She says work.
And as for what kind of food they served, I want to say it's
What kind of food they... I don't know what that is.
what they served. I
Field?
want to say it's the really traditional Chinese food.
Okay, that word is really, but it comes out as rarely.
It is the really traditional Chinese food, such as the kung pao chicken, and the mapo tofu, and so on. Mapo tofu, and so on. They are
Okay, I don't know what the food is. It's not that she made a mistake, it's just I don't know the food. But if you look at the pronunciation here, a lot of errors. Like she, again, as so many other people do, adds this at the end of words ending in a consonant sound. So it comes out and.
They are always my favorite food. As for what it looks like.
All right, let's look at this phrase. As for what it looks like. As for what kind of food they... I don't know what this word is. So she's using the same phrase to introduce each cue. If we look at the sentences, simple sentence, I often go to the restaurant with my parents. It's about 10 minutes walk. As for what kind of food they something, I want to say it's the really, but there should be no the there. It's really traditional Chinese food. Here is a complex sentence that only has one mistake. And then we go back to simple sentences. They're always my favorite food.
They are always my favorite food. As for what it looks like, it's very spacious and model.
I think she meant to say modern, but it came out as model.
Its wall is white and blue.
White. I'm guessing she wants to say the color.
Red is a very happy color. When I went to the restaurant, I will feel...
Okay, so here we go. Past tense and then future. When I went there, I will feel...
pretty happy and want to test the more food in there.
It's taste, not taster. Okay, so all these clauses seem to be pretty simple.
And they have a lot of plants in there. They were some beautiful flowers. As for why I like it.
And again, we have the same phrase introducing as for why I like it. That doesn't show a lot of variety, does it?
I want to say that I'm a foodie, and I like to test some.
I like to.
Delicious food, and the food in the restaurant is pretty delicious for me. And
and
workers in the restaurant is friendly.
The workers. Now, why doesn't she say servers? Because those people are servers, right? And then if we look at the be verb, it doesn't match the subject. The workers are friendly.
When I have my birthday.
Mistake with the tense. When I had my birthday.
My birthday party this year in May.
In May, there's no the for articles.
And my father took me to this restaurant.
I don't know why this is and. So when I had my birthday in May, I was taken there by my father. So here, she really should use the passive because the subject is I. I mean, or she could say my father took me there. I guess it's okay too. But let's drop the and.
My father took me to this restaurant. They prepared a special room for me, and the adorable this room with the blonde.
Okay, now what's happening here? Adorable is an adjective, so you can't say they adorable. They adorned. There is a verb adorned, but that's a different word.
With the blooms and some flowers.
I don't know what this word is. They adorned the room with what?
The blooms and some...
The blooms? The blooms? I don't know.
Flowers. And they give me a gift.
Okay, wrong tense.
And nearly all the workers sing a birthday song to me.
Again, the tense is wrong.
It's very mood for me.
It's very mood for me. I don't know what this is. This is not the right word. Mood? Moving? It was very moving.
So I very liked it.
And again, the basics grammar, I very like it. Very doesn't go with verbs.
That's what I want to see.
I know she probably wants to say, but I mean, she did say see, right? That's what I want to see. Okay, so in part 2, we saw basic sentences. we saw a lot of problems with her choosing the wrong word, mood, workers. Even in simple sentences, we saw grammatical errors like very, liked it. We saw repetitive use of conjunctions like and some sentence structures were pretty repetitive, which I can't find now. But like I want to, I like to, a lot of pretty simple grammar with a lot of errors. Where are we now? Oh, here we go. This is where I want to be. Okay, so she just finished part 2.
Super. Okay. Well,
super. In what context? Compared to what is the super exactly? I don't know.
was I don't think it's really close to 2 minutes. So very, very, very good. Well,
very, very, very good. Okay, I'm going to stop commenting on this guy's comments.
Done. Alrighty. So next in part 3, I'm gonna ask you some more questions about restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
So, why do...
I don't really understand what the topic is. The topic can not just be restaurants. It's got to be more specific, I think.
Why do people go to restaurants to celebrate?
Oh, well, nowadays the people don't have much time to prepare the dinner for themselves.
Okay, so again, errors. The people, just dinner, themselves.
To prepare the dinner for themselves, and they are busy in studying,
There's no in. They're busy studying, working,
or the other things.
Or the other things. Okay.
So they want to go to a restaurant
And now she doesn't have the word. She doesn't know what she wants to say. And it seems to me the word is have lunch, which is a very simple word, which makes you wonder, why is she pausing like this? Is her vocabulary weak?
to have lunch, and they still much time.
I don't know what this is. They still save.
And one more addition is that the food in the restaurant is delicious.
Mm-hmm.
Some people don't know how to cook, and they will go to the restaurant.
Because if people don't know how to cook, and then it's joined with this and, that will go to the restaurant. Simple grammar, but fairly accurate.
The test.
Wait, what? To taste. Do people go to restaurants only to taste the food? Don't they go there to actually eat the food instead of just tasting it?
Wrong to the test.
And the word is taste.
And in addition,
didn't we see in addition here? And one more in addition. And in addition. Okay. So she has certain linkers that she uses. But we see some overuse here, right? And why is it and in addition? Maybe we can drop the and, right?
in addition, some people will go to a restaurant in some special days.
Go to a restaurant to eat.
Such as the birthday and some
special dish, such as the birthday, but birthday is not a dish. So what does that mean?
day and some celebrity and some other.
Maybe she wants to say celebration, but it didn't come out as celebration. It came out as
celebrity and
celebrity. It's celebrity, not celebrity. That's why I think maybe she wants to say celebration, because you have this S sound here.
Celebrity and some other special days. They will prepare a delicious meal in some pretty restaurant.
Righty, lovely. In China, are fast food or traditional restaurants more popular?
Comparison.
Well, as for this question, I think
As for this question, okay, I wouldn't use this. There's only one question, and there's only you giving opinions.
fast food is more popular nowadays. Increasingly, people like to have the fast food.
Again, we have problems with articles. Why is there a the everywhere? But actually, for people, did she say the?
Increasingly, the people
Yeah, she did. There's no the, and there's no the. And it's fast food, not faster food.
to have the fast food.
So, okay, so sorry. Here, she's trying to use an adverb, but she gets it wrong because of the pronunciation.
Have the fast food. Some people don't like to waste the much time to cook the traditional food.
Don't like to waste the much time. Okay, if she dropped the sentence would make a lot more sense. People don't like to waste time cooking traditional food.
To cook the traditional food, especially the traditional Chinese food.
No,
it will cook for nearly 2 or 3 hours for a meal.
It will cook. Well, I don't think it cooks. You cook it. So people need to cook it for 2 to 3 hours. People need to cook it. Food doesn't cook itself.
Or 3 hours for a meal. It's very long. And as for some children, they like to eat some hamburgers and the other fast food. They will think it's very delicious.
Okay, so here we have some, I don't know, her voice rose. I'm not sure if that's stress. But we did at least see some intonation here. Okay, so again, simple grammar. Look at the vocabulary. Eat, hamburgers, delicious.
Delicious. Because when they are young,
When they were young.
they have the traditional food all the time.
Or maybe she's talking in general, then the present tense would be fine. When they're young, they have traditional food all the time. Okay, here is an example of a complex structure.
So the fast food is delicious for them. And it's for some people,
Don't know what this word is. And what?
for them. And it's for some people
Of course. Don't know.
working or studying too busy, they also want to.
Wait, what? I missed something here. Some people working or...
And it's for some people working or studying too busy, they
People working too busy. You can't work too busy. You can work too hard, or you can work for long hours, or you can study for long hours.
also want to have the fast food. It's very convenient for them.
Convenient, right. Do you think food is always better in an expensive restaurant?
Well, I think it depends.
Okay, and she, as so many other people, use a be verb when depend is a verb. So I think it depends.
Many restaurants have
Many restaurants.
delivers the pretty food.
Now this word sounds an awful lot like pretty, but if it is pretty, that's kind of weird.
The pretty food.
But man, it sounds like pretty. They deliver pretty food. Fooda.
Food. And but there are some restaurants.
And but. Okay, pretty food. Not sure what she's saying with that. We have a problem here with conjunctions. She's using and but together.
And but there are some restaurants.
Again, she doesn't use the plural. There are some restaurants.
Can't
Which here we have to use which.
deliver the pretty food.
What is up with her and the pretty food? What is the word? It really sounds like pretty here.
Some restaurant
It's restaurant, not restaurant. And it's not restaurant
want to earn the much money.
See, here she's trying to use more complex grammar, but it's just falling apart. They want to earn more money. Let's drop the match.
And they will save some money in some.
Okay, wait. Let's continue.
On their raw materials, and they can't adorable the restaurant too many beautiful.
Okay, we've got a lot going on in this sentence. They steal some money in some. Is the word steal?
Save some money in.
Looks like sounds like steal. They. I don't know what she's trying to say. Raw materials. Is raw materials?
Some on their raw material.
Because it sounds like raw, but maybe it's raw. So maybe she's trying to say there are a lot of restaurants which skimp on their raw materials, meaning they don't want to pay what they should pay for that. And then again we have adorable, which I think should be adore, and they can't adore their restaurant. I don't understand why though.
Adorable the restaurant too many beautiful.
Is it decorate? They don't decorate their restaurants. They don't decorate the restaurants in order maybe like to attract guests to the restaurant. The cohesion within the sentence is not very strong, and the coherence is even weaker. I'm not quite sure what she's trying to say here. Because remember, the question was about traditional versus fast food restaurants. Oh, maybe she's saying in order to save money, some restaurants. Oh, maybe she wants to say ingredients. Okay, so maybe some restaurants, in order to save money, skimp on buying the best quality ingredients, and they also don't really decorate the restaurants. They don't make the restaurants, or they don't decorate the restaurants with like an attractive facade, and maybe the interior decoration is a little bit lacking, so not a lot of people enter. Is that what she's saying?
Now in China, the restaurant is more and more building.
No, restaurants cannot build anything. So more and more restaurants are being built. Here she really has to use the passive. More and more restaurants are being built.
Many people want to build a restaurant, and some restaurants don't have any delicious food. Nowadays, on the news
in the news,
China, there are many fast food in deliver food.
There are many fast food delivery companies, or there are many restaurants which deliver their own food.
Have created some questions. And
I think she's confusing question and problem. Okay, so these delivery companies are causing some problems. Maybe not create, cause. Cause is a word that often goes with problems.
Questions, and it's very serious nowadays.
Not sure what's going on here. He's very service nowadays.
It's very serious nowadays.
Service, right? Yeah. Nope. I don't know what she means. I mean, if you look at the grammar, it appears to be correct, right? But if you look for meaning, what does it mean? It's pretty incoherent.
Okay, super.
And he continues to lie to her.
My last question for you, Mickey, is it important for a country to grow all of its own food?
I'm sorry, I can't understand what's the rule.
Is it important for a country to grow its own food?
And this guy, she just said she doesn't understand the question, but he doesn't rephrase the question. He says it using exactly the same words. Now, how does that help her? In part 3, they're supposed to rephrase the question if you don't understand.
To grow its own food.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's very important. No, I think the food is a kind of culture for a country.
That's a good point, actually.
They can build their food
But then they can build their food. What does that mean?
to give the other people to traditional their culture.
Oh boy. Traditional is not a verb. But I don't even know what she's trying to say here. They can, because I can't understand the words that she's saying.
To give the other people to traditional their culture.
Nope. Don't know.
In China there is a kind of traditional food. It's like the Kung chicken. Maybe several years ago, several thousand years ago, they have this food.
Several thousands of years ago, there have. I don't know what she's trying to say. So she's saying this food has existed for thousands of years, maybe? This kind of food has been in existence or has existed. I think here, let's use the present perfect tense. Has been, right?
And it represents.
It represents. So there should be an S there.
Of traditional culture in China, and the
But I'm not really sure if she's answering the question. Because the question is it important for a country to grow all of its own food? Meaning the country doesn't import any food. They grow all the food locally. That's what the question is asking. But he doesn't push her on this issue. She just continues to talk about traditional food. He doesn't stop her and say, well, what might happen if a country does not produce all of its own food locally? Will it cause any problems?
Their own food can make the people like their country more. And whenever and wherever they are, they also can memory their own country.
I think the word is remember, because memory is a noun.
Can memory their own country. Yeah, I think it's very significant.
You know, I think something that actually complicated the question for Mickey, her name is Mickey, right? Is here, he said, is it important for a country to grow? Oh, wait, this is the second time. Here we go. Here's the first time he says the question. Is it important for a country to grow all of its own food? But then when he repeated the question, he said, is it important for a country to grow its own food? The all is missing. And I think that is the crux of the question. Should countries be self-sufficient when it comes to food production? Not the tradition or the culture behind the food.
Yeah, I think it's very significant.
Okay, so in the comments, I'm not going to type out all the repetitions or the IPA or the ums or the us, because it's a lot of work to transcribe these conversations. Okay, so it's a little bit inaccurate, but hey, I tried to save time.
Brilliant. Okay, so Mickey, that's the end of your test today.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you.
And relax. Cool. So, what did you think?
Okay, I'm going to skip ahead here because there's no point in this. Let's see. Part 1, simple questions. Well, she still made a lot of mistakes. If you don't understand the question, let's see. He's giving her some advice here. If you don't understand the question, let's listen to this.
Exactly the right thing. Ask them to repeat the question And if you don't understand one word, ask them to explain that word.
Good point. Good advice. It's not a listening test. It's true. Ask if you don't understand the question. Yes, yes, yes. This advice here is a little bit dangerous.
Just talk about not knowing it and keep talking. It's not a test of your knowledge.
That is true. It is not a test of your knowledge. But it does test whether you have the vocabulary to discuss certain topics, and whether or not you have the vocabulary to discuss certain topics in depth. Let's have a look at that. Here are the speaking band descriptors for Lexical Resource Band 6. It says, has wide enough vocabulary to discuss topics. So you need vocabulary related to the topics. And for Band 7, Lexical Resource uses vocabulary resource flexibly to discuss a variety of topics. So if he goes on and says, just keep talking, well, yeah, but talk about the topic. Otherwise, you might get a Band 5. Also, another thing, if you just keep on talking, you might be penalized for not answering the question, because then your response is incoherent. And then again, you might get marked down to a Band 5. So there is some value in this advice, especially with regard to fluency. Maybe not with so much if you're hoping to get a good score for coherence and vocabulary.
Yeah.
Cool. And so, what things do you think were most difficult for you in this exam? What problem?
Okay, blah, blah, blah. Questions are hard, yeah. It's not about your answer, it's about your speaking. Again, to a certain extent, it's true. Okay, so before she got a 5.5, which I think is the right score. I think 6.556, that's probably the score she would get. And for the next exam, she wants a 7.
Want to get the 7 in the all score.
Wow, 7 overall. Okay. And
Yeah.
what score do you need for your speaking? 7 as well?
Speaking, I want to get the 6.5.
Nope, not gonna happen. Let's see. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, they talk about the criteria. Okay, so he's showing her, I don't know, some kind of slide or something.
Where is it? Here we go. So this is Band 7, and perhaps a little too small for you to see, right? My apologies. So the first one is about how much and how easily you speak. And I think for this, you were really, really close to Band 7.
No, she wasn't.
You use loads of really good phrases to connect your ideas and introduce your ideas.
Okay, what he's saying is not wrong, but let's look at what happened. Like here, this is part 3. Well, I think it depends. Okay, that's a great way to start the answer. But what happens after that? We've got and but. And then we've got ums. We have this, which doesn't make any sense, which is not coherent. And we've got repetitive uses of the word and. Okay, let's look at some other examples. This is part 1, where she went with to be honest, which I don't know why she said to be honest in this. I have seen, we see some self-correction there. Let's see, this is the next question. She starts off with personally speaking. I don't know why she used this. And then after that, she struggles saying the word convenient. That's not very fluent, is it? But, you know. How many times did we hear you know? Let's see. Here is the first question. But the neighbors, she starts with well, you know, and oh, okay, we're back to that. Let's go to part 2. Let's see what happened there. Okay, the beginning was clear. I want to talk about a restaurant. The grammar wasn't that clear, but I mean, as far as cohesion goes, yeah, that was pretty good, right? Often it's about, and then we have this phrase that you use so many times, as for, and we saw that again here, as for what it looks like. But I mean, she did use pronouns. We see they, so there was some cohesion, that's true. But was it at a band 7 level? I don't think so. But let's look at the examples he brings up.
Phrases to connect your ideas and introduce your ideas. I think, in my opinion, personally speaking, to be honest, these are lots of really good and lots of different ways to introduce your ideas. That's brilliant.
Well, not if you use them inappropriately.
Next up, you got you can speak for a long time, but it's
That is true. She did speak for a long time, right? Sometimes there was a little bit of self-correction. Sometimes there was a little bit of hesitation.
okay if you stop and think, and
It's better to think before you start talking, I think. Not stop and think. Think first, then talk.
okay for you to correct yourselves.
Yourselves. Okay, but anyway. Yeah, a certain amount of, I mean, everybody makes mistakes when they talk. It's just natural, right? It just depends on whether that makes you incoherent or not.
And I think you did pause and correct yourselves a few times, so this was fine.
Well, what does that mean? This was fine. You have to look at the scale. Did it affect coherence? Yes, it did. It did. So how is that a 7?
And then the third part on this is you can speak for a long time without it seeming very difficult. And so in part 2, you spoke for almost 2 minutes and you answered all of the questions, and this
Well, in part 2, there are no questions. So I don't know what that means.
is a very natural conversation.
And in part 2, there is no conversation. It's just you talking on a topic.
So I think you're really close to band 7.
Nope, she's not. She's band 6. Okay, and then he goes on to talk about lexical resource. Okay, so let's hear about the Lexis.
Lexical resource. This is all about the vocabulary you use. So for this, I thought your vocabulary was quite good.
Notice how he paused and how slowly he speaks. Okay, so that's not true.
You certainly had enough words to talk about all the things you wanted.
Did she? Well, let's have a look at that. With other people to tradition their culture. What does that mean? They can memory their own. Now we can understand what that means, but it's an inappropriate word. She's using the noun. They can build their food. What does that mean? I don't know. He's very service nowadays. Don't know what that means. There are many fast food in deliver food. Not entirely sure what that means. Adorable their restaurants too. I can guess that she means adore, but it should be decorate anyway. So inappropriate choice again. When talking about the restaurant, she called the people workers. And I mean, technically they are, but why not call them servers? It's very mood for me. Again, inappropriate. So when he says you certainly had enough words to talk about all the things you wanted, not sure what he means by that.
Sometimes you use...
Oh, good grief. He did say sometimes, right? Let's fix that. Okay, let's get back to what he's saying.
Sometimes you used a word and it wasn't quite right.
Okay, I mean, he's being very kind. I mean, she's paying for his service, so he doesn't want to upset her, I suppose.
Is somewhere in band 6. And now there's 2 things I want us to focus on.
Band 5.
The first, for band 7, you must paraphrase effectively. Do you know the meaning for this word, paraphrase?
All right, let's have a look at what the criteria say on that. Here are the speaking band descriptors and the criteria for Lexical Resource Band 8. And here, the last point is, uses paraphrase effectively as required. As required. That means you want to talk about something, but you don't have the specific word. For example, let's imagine you don't know the word battery. And you say, oh, I went to the store to buy those things that you put in toys to make the toys work, to make the toys run if they need electricity. So I didn't use the word battery, but you can still understand what I mean. That is what paraphrasing is. It's not about having many different words meaning the same thing.
Yeah, it's like an exam, explain.
Okay, yeah. So paraphrase means you have one idea, but you have lots of different ways to talk about it.
See, he's explaining synonyms.
So, for example, in part 2, where you're talking about food, I want to hear you use lots of different words for food.
That is having a wide vocabulary. That's not what paraphrasing means. Let me explain. And of course, if you know the word, just say the word, and you don't need to paraphrase at all. What he's talking about here is having a wide vocabulary, having a wide resource.
So,
Yeah.
maybe when you are preparing your answer, perhaps you can write down some different words for the main topic. So you could have food.
You have 1 minute to do this. I don't know if you have time for this. I don't know if you have time to write down synonyms in your preparation time. But if you do, I mean, it's not a bad idea. I just think it's very practical.
Food or cuisine or meals or dinner.
Again, this is not paraphrasing.
So lots of different words. But if you just use the word food, you're only going to get 6. So especially in band 2, in part 2, whatever the main topic is, try to write down 3 or 4 different words for this and try to use them.
You know what? Let's see if we can't find an example of her using paraphrasing. Okay, so here's an example. She's trying to say that because she's from Beijing, which is far away, her classmates show her around the place. I forgot the name of the city where she's in. But her classmates show her around. Now, she doesn't know how to say show around. So instead, she chooses to say, they teach me where, how's the interesting place. So we can kind of understand what she means, but she doesn't have the words to say exactly what she means. This is paraphrasing. I wouldn't say this is very effective because teach is the wrong word, but that is what it means. You have a gap in your vocabulary and you try to overcome that gap by using other words. It does not mean this. This is not like writing, where you have to use a lot of different synonyms. In writing, this might be true. Speaking, not so necessary.
One idea, but you have lots of different ways to talk about it. So, for example, in...
Oh, we listened to this already. Okay, so anyway. So these synonyms, no, this is necessary in writing and speaking. I wouldn't worry too much about that. Let's move on. Idioms.
The next part is, for band 7, you've got to use some idioms. Do you know the meaning for this word, idiom?
Yeah, I know.
Okay. What English idioms do you know? Which ones are easy for you?
Such as run dogs and cats.
Raining cats and dogs. Yeah, exactly. So when you went to this restaurant with your family, it was raining cats and dogs.
Let me just go back to this. You've got to use some idioms. Raining cats and dogs, and the other example, arriving safe and sound. Actually, arriving safe and sound is a little bit better. But let's go back to the idioms part. Let's see what the band descriptor says. Okay, here we have it. Uses some less common and idiomatic vocabulary. Idiomatic vocabulary. It doesn't say idioms. It says idiomatic vocabulary. Now this is an idiom. It costs an arm and a leg. It's a whole phrase that means something. This, raining cats and dogs, is also an idiom. If you're going to try using idioms in every second sentence you say in the test, you're going to sound very strange, very unnatural. People don't use idioms all the time. Idiomatic vocabulary is a phrase such as, for example, if someone dies, you say they pass away. Pass away is idiomatic vocabulary because no one is actually passing. So if you look at the words, well, I don't want to define what an idiom is, but let me do it anyway. So if you look at the words, the meaning cannot be found in the literal words. The meaning is kind of hidden. So, for example, if you don't stop at a red light, we say you run the red light. That again also is idiomatic language because you're not actually running the light. But idiomatic language and idioms, not the same thing. Let's see where it gets to the grammar. So try to use at least one idiom, especially in part 2. This is not going to help you at all. Using one idiom, it's not enough. And you'll get this band 7. This is such a lie.
At least one idiom, especially in part 2, and you will get this band 7 for your lexical resource. So
no, I see a lot of people using idioms. Raining cats and dogs, stuff like that, and they think, oh, I'm going to get a 7. And then, no, you can't just use one idiom and then the rest of the time your vocabulary is so basic. That's not how it works. Let's get to the grammar.
Next up, we got grammar, and so yeah, I thought your grammar was really good. You use some different tenses. I did notice in part 2 you started off talking about the past, but then some of the verbs you missed the ed. So
No, it was using the wrong form. There's some advice here. I don't know. The advice is not terrible. But you can only really do this in part 2 where you can make notes, right? Let's see some of his other pieces of advice here. Alright. You must use some complex structures. Okay, good point. I didn't hear in your answers. Yeah, I think I pointed that out too. If clauses. If clauses are a good way to use or to introduce more complex language into your answers. I don't know why everything is limited to one. Okay. And then he gives the example of passive voice. But just because the sentence is in the passive voice doesn't mean it's a complex sentence. If you say, I rode the horse was ridden. Just because you said the horse was ridden doesn't mean that suddenly the grammar is complex. Now, if you use the passive voice, it will show you a variety of different grammar you can use, but it's still going to be simple grammar. Complex sentences depend on how many clauses are in the sentences. It's not dependent on whether you use the passive voice or not. This is some terrible advice here, right here. Pronunciation. Actually, I kind of agree with him on this, except for one thing. He said, maybe I'm wrong. Did he not say? I thought he said pronunciation was their weakest point. Maybe I'm wrong.
And so, I don't know. I think for pronunciation, it's a habit that you have practiced every day for a long time. I don't think you can change your pronunciation in 4 weeks or 5 weeks. But
It's true. It's the hardest thing to change. And even if she got a 7 for fluency and coherence, a 7 for lexical resource, a 7 for grammar, and then she got a 6 for pronunciation, that would mean 6.5, right?
especially W and V sounds kind of get confused, and TH sounds.
Okay, so here are some examples, and then he says this. What does he say here? Okay, here we go.
Small changes in the vocabulary and grammar to show the most difficult stuff you know, and then you should be getting a band 7.
No, it's impossible. Not with this pronunciation. So anyway, he gave her a 6.5. I don't know what he based that on. I think 5.5.